There's a signal fire on the horizon. Nobody knows where it's coming from. Some say it's God or his son Jesus. Some say it's only zeros and ones. Maybe it's only a black hole having fun. Is it right? Out of reach? Is it what we're looking for? Is there time to teach or time to start a war?
Dan, first of all, I have to ask you, you've been here quite a few times. Yeah. What is it about Ahoghill, and particularly like Northern Ireland, or should I say Northern Ireland and particularly Ahoghill, that sort of fires you up?
Well, to be honest, I think it's one of the most hospitable parts of the world as far as like how people treat me here, how they treat everybody. I think and I grew up in South Dakota in America in a farmland where everybody knew each other and everybody was kind, and I get that kind of vibe from here. Also, when I play up in Scotland, I get the kind of same feeling that I get in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland, I should say.
Oh, you're starting to get the accent.
Yeah,
You've been here so many times.
Exactly. I'm trying.
So first time back here in 14 months. So
Yeah.
what have you been up to in the past year?
Really working on the new record. Just spent a lot of time writing. I've been doing more and more house concerts, both in America, Scandinavia, and in the UK. So I've been playing a lot of shows and just concentrating on being in the studio in my that I built in Prague. So I've been really just concentrating on Signal Fire, which is the name of the new album.
And how far on is it? Like, is it when
it's
you
almost finished? Yeah, we recorded about 21 songs, and we're pretty much happy with about 10 or 11 of them as far as finished recording. I'd like this record to be a little longer than the last one, so I might put like 15, 16 songs on this album. So we got till about the end of July to finish recording and mixing. So that's kind of our target date, is to have the album out by the fall. It's definitely harder edged. A lot of these songs are written with a live performance in mind with the band, and the band is playing on this record, whereas the last album was kind of recorded over the period of a three-year stint with a bunch of different musicians, sometimes from long distance. But this album, we actually went in the studio as a band and played all the basic tracks together. So it's a little heavier musically and production-wise. It's a little funkier as well, but I also think the lyrics, I hope, have the same intention as Coming Up for Air, maybe a little more pointed. And the title track is really about seeing something in the distance, warning you, or maybe blessing you. You don't know what it is in the distance, and you know that there's some news coming, but whether it's positive or negative news is really up to us. So I think that's what the human race is facing in general, economically, environmentally. Politically, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's things that are boiling up in society on this planet right now that are coming to a head. I think it's what I like to call it growing pains. I think in the old days it was easier to kind of have these borders and national pride because that we weren't all interconnected, especially economically. We weren't a couple hundred years ago. And now we're so interconnected. If one country fails, it pulls down a bunch of others with them. And I think the internet, Facebook, and whatever social networking is kind of telepathy with training wheels. So I think we're kind of practicing to figure out how to be one day. And this is us struggling to achieve that goal, I hope. I think we're swinging back toward composition and live performance. I think that needed to happen. Like, take this star, what do you call it? There was a movie called Idolmaker back when I was a kid that came out. That was, I think, maybe almost the preface to this. Like American Bandstand, shows like that were kind of, but most of those artists were writers that were on those shows, and now they're just propping up singers. And unfortunately, I think it's really just a way for advertisers and the producers of these shows to make tons and tons of money off of the back of these kids getting up there and singing, and very few of them actually get a true music career out of it, because I don't think until you really beat the streets and play the clubs and sit down and write a bunch of songs that are terrible, and then finally figure out to write some songs that are different or yet people can still relate to, until you go down those roads, your artistry isn't honed, And so I think it's interesting that we got to this point where, you know, Paris Hilton is a star for doing nothing, the Kardashians and all that kind of stuff. We have TV shows like Toddlers and Tiaras, where mothers are dressing their little 4-year-old daughters up in costumes and parading them around as like, I don't know, as clowns in a way. And I think you only have your childhood once, and so I think it's all of this, it needs to get really much worse before it gets better, but I think it will get better. It has to swing back the other way. We'll get fed up with it eventually, I hope.
Dan, listen, absolute pleasure as usual to be talking to you again.
It's nice talking to you, Gary.
Great to have you back in Northern Ireland, in Ahoghill at the Diamond Rock Club, and looking forward to hearing you perform later on.
Thank you. I'm glad to
Brilliant.
be back to my second home.
Cheers,
Peace,
Dan.
brother.
Thank you.
Okay.